Are you somebody that used to play Console Edition? Do you wish that Bedrock had the same feel as Console Edition? Then today is your lucky day. I'm going to show you on how you can turn Bedrock to look almost like the Console Edition. Now any of the packs I talk about in today's video will be linked in the description, but for now let's get right into the showcase. And you're going to need to download and install these 3 separate packs. Console Shading, created by Mark Jones, is going to give it the same brightness that you would expect from Console Edition. And Console Aspects by Agent Mindstorm. It's just going to add some small little details. VDX for a JD UI, created by Chris Exalt. This is going to change the GUIs to make them look a lot more like Console Edition. And once you activate these 3 packs, then go back to the main telescreen, and this is what you're going to be greeted with. It looks just like the Console Edition, doesn't it? Now there is one more thing I do recommend doing. Click on Open Options, go down to Options, User Interface, and change your GUI scale down to -1. And that's going to look a lot better on your screen. Now if you do decide that you want to remove these packs anytime, then go down to Open Options, click on Options, go down to Game, and then down the very bottom you have Resource Packs, which is your global resources. The one thing I do love about this pack is just the way everything looks. Like we got ourselves the great buttons here. As you go throughout the menus, you got yourself these little sliders. You've got the buttons that you can click. You've got the checkmark boxes. This is absolutely cool. And not to mention, as you go throughout the menus, you even get the little sound effects that you would normally get from the Console Edition. Just everything about this pack is just beautiful. And it really does bring it back to when you used to play Console Edition. Because me personally, I love the Console Edition. But however, not every menu has been completed. Because if I click on Minecraft Store, I'm not sure if it's possible to even change this. But this is pretty much exactly the same. Achievements is also exactly the same, and even the create new world screen, this is also the same. But I believe that those 3 menus are hard coded in the game, so you cannot change those whatsoever. But the other menus have been completed. Now from here, let's click on play game, and let's take a look at this. So this is what the loading screen now looks like. The join friend screen and the minigame screen is gonna be your servers. I love that small little detail. Instead of just calling it servers, just call it minigames. Because that's basically what these are in a nutshell. But going back over to the loading screen, if I were to choose any of these worlds, it's going to pop up this new menu. Doesn't this remind you of the Console Edition so much? When you click on the world on Console Edition, you get all these different menus like this. You've got the different drop down menus, so we have our game mode for example, our difficulty, and then we have the add-on section. If I were to click on this block, then this is going to prompt other players to accept your resource pack. We have resource packs, and this is where you can just choose your resource packs, and of course your behavior packs that you may want inside your world. We have online games, so you can turn that on if you want to be online or not. You have more world options. From here you can change your world name, your player permissions, you've got fire spreads and TNT explodes, and show coordinates. Then we got our simulation distance, and our online mode on the bottom. Going over to game options, this is where you can choose all of your cheats. This is where you can enable your reward options like daylight cycles, mob spawning, mob griefing, and so on and so forth. By clicking on this down arrow, you've got a few other options, like where you can do your respawn radius, turn on the education edition, or a random tick speed. Just take in the beauty of this UI. I tell you what right now, Chris Exalt, he did a phenomenal job of recreating this menu. I mean, it's just awesome. If you are a hardcore Console Edition player, then you might absolutely enjoy this. It just looks a lot cleaner, a lot more user friendly, and just really cool. But the one thing that 4G did correctly was the user interface. That was the one thing that made Console Edition iconic. But however, there's just one thing that I could not locate, and that was the experimental settings. If I were to click on more world options, we got all this stuff, we've got all the game options, but where in the world are the experimental options? Hopefully that's going to be a thing that will be coming soon enough. Now heading back over to global resources, if I were to click on VDX for JD, then you will find a gear icon. And if I click on there, then you can either use an adaptive UI or the museum UI. If you are using a controller, then this might be the one you want to go for. But if you're playing with a keyboard and mouse, or if you're on a mobile device, then the adaptive UI is the one for you. Now as we go throughout today's video, if you want to know which UI style I'm using, then just look on the top right of the screen. Starting with the adaptive UI, this is what the inventory now looks like. So already it does look similar to the Console Edition. It definitely looks a lot cleaner and a lot more user friendly. That's the one thing that everyone loves about Console Edition. But we have ourselves construction, equipment, items, and nature. And then we have search. If I click on this button, then this takes us to our inventory, and this takes us back to the creative inventory. And this is what the crafting looks like. definitely looks a lot like the console edition UI. If I were to click on this button, then this is going to show us all the things that we can craft. Now the one thing I don't like about this is how small that window is. If I click on any of these, then it's going to show us the recipe on the bottom. That's definitely another cool aspect of this. This is what the horse UI looks like. I really couldn't tell too many differences in here. Looks pretty much exactly the same. Maybe it's a bit cleaner, like I just don't know. This is our enchanting UI. Definitely looking a lot cleaner. Our grindstone, the furnace. Same thing for the blast furnace and smoker. The brewing stand. Can't really notice too many differences in here. The anvil, the barrel, shulker box, and finally our chest, which looks like the icon in the inventory broke. And next up, let's check out Museum UI. And also make sure to restart Minecraft. And here we are within the world, and once I open up my inventory, it will take a few seconds to open up, but this is what the creative inventory now looks like. Yeah, it's totally different from what it once was earlier. The categories have been removed, all the blocks have been separated, and this is what you can be greeted with. I do have one big issue with this pack. If you are using museum mode, if you're playing on a keyboard and mouse, the only way that you can get around is by pressing the bracket buttons to go between the different tabs, or clicking these arrows to go up and down within the inventory. You cannot click on the slider to make it go up or down. That's the one thing I hate about this. Buddy, please, please, please make it so you can use a mouse on this. I would love that so much. I mean, the UI is definitely very cool. This is definitely a pretty cool pack. But if I could just click on these tabs and scroll up and down with the mouse, then that would be very, very good. And because of that issue, I'd give the museum UI a score of 6. I mean, I think this UI is definitely pretty cool, and I like the fact that there's no more categories. So instead of clicking pluses all the time, you can just look for your block and put it right within the inventory, and that is very, very awesome. But yet again, I really don't like the fact that you cannot just click on these tabs to go between them. The only way is by clicking these brackets or clicking on these arrows to go up and down within the inventory. It gets very annoying very quickly. If all these issues were sorted out within museum mode, then I would absolutely love this pack, and I would give it a 10 out of 10. And if you're wondering about the other UIs, these have been left alone. There's nothing different about them. But however, the crafting table is a bit different. Because in here, if you look around, do you notice anything different? Well, you should notice something different because there is no recipe book. You have no way of knowing on how to craft things. So you just have to know the recipes, and that's it. That's how Minecraft used to be way before the recipe book even existed. If you played console edition, then you should know all about the classic crafting option. You had the ability to craft like on Java edition or the console edition crafting system. Now when it comes to console aspects, this is a little bit of a different pack. This will introduce a few smaller details that you normally not notice, but it does make your game feel more polished. So change some animations, change some block sounds, mob sounds, and some particles, and all sorts of other smaller details. It may not be a world of a difference to your game, but it will definitely help make your game feel like console edition a lot more. And then when it comes to console shaders, as you may have noticed throughout our game, everything seems a lot brighter, and that's how console edition was. It was always bright in the gamma levels, and that's the one thing that made it so iconic. And plus everything just looks so good. So with the console shaders pack, you're going to get the same gamma levels as if you're on console edition. And there you go, my friends, that's how you can make Bedrock Edition look like the console edition. And in my own opinion, and there you go, my friends, that is how you can turn Minecraft Bedrock Edition into Minecraft Console Edition. All three of these packs will be in the description. If I could pick one pack that is my favorite out of all three of these, it would probably be 4JD. Because this one by Crystal, it is definitely very, very good. I like the fact that it recreates the user interfaces, and I like the fact that it adds these small little details just to make your game feel like console edition. That is what I love about this. Now down below in the comments, go ahead and let me know what you think of these packs, and if you enjoyed today's video, then please consider leaving a like, subscribe if you're new around here, and don't forget to turn on notifications. But for now, I will catch you next time. Goodbye.